In Northern Ireland, the rain should fizzle out across parts of Scotland. For England and Wales, much of the morning dry, but some heavy showers likely again, particularly through the afternoon tomorrow over parts of East Anglia, the Midlands and southern England. Again, quite mild in the brighter spells, but cool on some coasts.
A positive outlook through the night will power through to a bright day ahead. Boxed Home Battery Storage, sponsors of weather on GB News.
You could have £17,777 in tax-free cash to play with this spring. Cash to spend on anything you like. And if that wasn't enough, we're also going to give you not one, but two sought-after designer watches and the latest Mulberry handbag. How would winning that sound? For another chance to win the lot, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. Call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB12 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 4th of April. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Withensea. It's an East Yorkshire seaside town that's been here for centuries. Once a bustling coastal resort, now only its pier towers remain. And like many British seaside destinations, it's seen a drop in holiday makers.
Gone are the days when we had packed beaches. The area has changed and, you know, it just needs a little bit more, so there's something to do for people.
Since they pulled the railway, that was a death of witnesses sort of thing, and slowly it's died to what it is now. About the next thing, I guess, it'll go in the sea.
Yeah, I think it's a typical English seaside town, and sometimes they don't move with the times, do they?
And it hasn't changed a lot since, you know, when I come. But still people here, still people come.
Plans for a new pier were scrapped in 2023 due to funding issues. Now, with price hikes brought on by Labour's autumn budget, business owners are feeling the pinch. Annette Bagley owns the Rosy Leaf Cafe, and she's been forced to put up her prices.
It's been a bit hard because the wages have gone up, national insurance has gone up, so everything is going up. My costs for just running the place, the coffee's gone up, chocolate's gone up, everything really has just gone up, and I'm afraid I've had to pass that on to customers by putting my prices up a little bit.
East Riding Council has schemes in place to boost the economy.
And we're just trying to make the town better in lots of different ways. We also have a big voluntary group called Town Smart, and there's a great team of volunteers, and we're out there litter picking, cleaning, painting, and we're also going to sort of see if we can create a business collective and a business group as we go forwards to help local businesses.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Good morning, I'm Emily Carver alongside Adam Cherry, and this is Saturday Morning Live.
Good morning, welcome to SML, by the way.
Yeah,
Good morning.
Thank you for having me.
Great to be with you, of course. Lots coming up on the show this morning. Let's have a look at what we've got coming up. So, Heathrow Airport has announced this morning that it is open and fully operational today. Hundreds of additional staff and extra flights added to the schedule to facilitate an extra 10,000 passengers travelling through the airport. Our reporter Steve Bennett is on the ground.
Yeah, that's right. Flights have been coming out in and out all morning here at London Heathrow, and it feels like very much business as usual for Britain's busiest airports.
Gosh, can you imagine the queues through security, Adam? That's as stranded passengers from across the country and the world scramble to get home. Anna Riley is at Manchester Airport.
It's business as usual here as well, but certainly a lot busier as people opt to fly from Manchester instead of Heathrow.
Elsewhere, US President Donald Trump has suggested that he'd be open to the US becoming an associate member of the Commonwealth. Well, that comes as he unveiled a new US fighter jet yesterday, which has been named after himself.
Of
right,
course.
OK. Well, we'll get the latest on that, of course.
Of course, it's after himself. The Prince of Wales joins British troops near Russia's border in Estonia, showing solidarity with NATO's eastern flank. That's amid growing fears of Russian aggression. We have our royal correspondent Cameron Walker with a special report.
And is there a gender pain gap? Research suggests that women's pain is still not taken seriously in terms of medicine. We'll be speaking to two women at the forefront of that research next.
And of course, we're going to have all of the day's top stories with political correspondent at The Guardian, Alita Adu, and former Conservative advisor, Lauren McEvitt. It's going to be a fantastic show, I think, Adam.
Of course it is. This is Saturday Morning Live, only on GB News. Spring has sprung.
Spring has very much sprung, yes.
You're looking summery today.
Well, I thought, dress down a little, wear a summer dress.
I know.
Look forward to the summer months anyway, although I have heard that it's going to turn a little bit damp later. But we'll forget about that for today.
Yeah, I just checked the weather the next 10 days. Rubbish. Never mind.
Now, Sophie Reaper is usually in this position, but we hear that she's off in some wild hen do this morning.
We'll have exclusive, not footage, we don't want to embarrass anyone, but we'll have an exclusive picture from that hen do later, so stick around for that.
Maybe we'll get some footage.
Well, who knows? Who knows? I don't think the bride-to-be would very much like that. Of course, we'd like to hear your thoughts about all the stories today. As usual, send your views, send your comments. Usual place, gbnews.com/your say.
But before you do anything else, Sam Francis has the news headlines.
Very good morning to you from the newsroom. Just gone at 2 minutes past 10. The top story this hour, well, flights are now landing again at Heathrow Airport after fires shut down the airport for much of Friday. At least 9 arrivals have already been cancelled this morning, despite efforts to restore a full service today. Thousands of passengers were stranded yesterday when a blaze at a nearby electrical substation caused widespread disruption. Some flights did resume late last night, but knock-on delays are expected throughout the weekend and into next week. Counter-terrorism police, meanwhile, are investigating the cause of the blaze, but the Met says there's no sign of foul play. Boxing legend George Foreman has died at the age of 76. The two-time world heavyweight champion made history in 1994, becoming the oldest man to hold the title at the age of 45. He won Olympic gold in 1968 and famously, of course, lost to Muhammad Ali in the 1974 Rumble in the Jungle. Foreman later became a preacher and made millions from his iconic lean, mean grilling machine. And tributes this morning are pouring in from across the sporting world, with Mike Tyson calling him a force for good. Rachel Reeves has ruled out tax and spend policies ahead of her spring statement next week, despite soaring government borrowing. She says the country can't tax and spend our way to better living standards or public services. In February, borrowing hit £10.7 billion, far above forecasts, piling more pressure on the Chancellor to ease her self-imposed fiscal rules. But she's already slashed aid and welfare spending, with departments ordered to review every line of their budgets. New forecasts from the OBR will frame her statement on Wednesday. Corridor care in NHS hospitals has become the new normal and must end by the next election. That is the call from the Liberal Democrats at their spring conference. Today, their health spokeswoman, Helen Morgan, will call for £1.5 billion in emergency funding to prepare hospitals for winter. She'll cite a patient with sepsis who was left for 60 hours in corridors as evidence of a system in crisis. More than 160,000 patients waited over 12 hours for a hospital bed last winter. That's up 15% on the year before. The Lib Dems say they're offering the only real opposition on the NHS and adult social care. And Donald Trump has revoked security clearances for Kamala Harris, Hillary Clinton and a string of other top former officials. The move also confirms that Trump's decision to strip Joe Biden and any other member of the Biden family from access to classified information. A total of 14 names appear on the list. Trump says it's no longer in the national interest for them to retain access. But former presidents and top officials do usually keep their clearances as a courtesy. That's the news on GB News. I'll be back with you in around an hour's time for a look at the top stories. Now, though, it's over to Saturday Morning Live.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Thanks, Sam. Now, Heathrow Airport is open and fully operational today with hundreds of additional staff and more flights added to the schedule to facilitate an extra 10,000 passengers travelling through the airport.
Oh my goodness, it's going to be a very busy airport today, isn't it? This comes, of course, as the airport was accused of colossal failure after it shut down yesterday following a fire at a local electrical substation. More than 1,300 flights were cancelled, 200,000 people impacted, delays expected for days and days.
Well, let's get the latest now from our reporters who are on the ground. We've got Stephen Bennett at Heathrow and Anna Riley at Manchester Airport. Steve, to you first. We're hearing that the airport is operational again, but I'm guessing still huge delays. Are you seeing flights take off? What's the mood over there?
Good morning, everyone. Yes, it is operational. They anticipate being 85% of their schedule running today, getting flights in and out of Heathrow. And I've been here since 7 a.m. and flights have been coming in regularly, probably every minute or so, landing, taking off. And usually it's about 45 seconds a plane takes off or lands here at Heathrow. So they're getting back to usual service, that's for sure. And as you said, yesterday, 250,000 passengers were impacted by the fact that London Heathrow, Britain's busiest airport, was closed. And those passengers, where are they? That's one of the main concerns. The reason why there'll be a backlog is they have to get those passengers, they have to get those crew and those aeroplanes where they need to be. And last night, British Airways did 8 long-haul flights. They started at 7 o'clock. They were the first ones to depart the south runway here at London Heathrow. And not only was that to get to people where they need to go, but it was also part of to repatriate and get crew where they need to go as well. Because I've seen air stewardesses, air stewards where they've gone back to their hotels because their flights have been grounded. So part of the delay will be moving people around where they need to go, get the infrastructure back in place so the airport can run at capacity again. And we had reports yesterday of approximately 120 flights were en route here to London Heathrow before being told, nope, we are closed, around about 5 a.m. in the morning yesterday. So those flights either had to go back to their point of origin or be diverted somewhere else across Europe. So those planes need to come back as well. And the advice to anyone travelling today is still come to the airport, business as usual, and they'll try and get you on your flight as scheduled. And if you do, or if you have had to put yourself up in a hotel or had to cover food costs, keep those receipts and your airline will be able to reimburse you at a later date. I'm assuming when things calm down slightly.
Sounds like an extraordinarily complicated game of chess, organising all of this. Let's turn to Anna Riley, who's at Manchester Airport, because apparently things are pretty busy there as well. Anna?
Yes, that's right, Emily. It is business as usual here at Manchester Airport, but it is busier than usual. No extra flights have been put on, but certainly a lot of flights are at capacity, with people choosing to fly from Manchester instead of Heathrow and get a guaranteed flight. We're just here at the end of the runway at Manchester Airport. Plenty of flights taking off behind us. Of course, Manchester Airport being the UK's largest airport outside of London, around 234 flights every day here from Manchester Airport, around 74,000 passengers coming through and 30 million passengers last year. So certainly a huge operation here at Manchester Airport. And speaking to passengers, I've actually spoken to people who have opted to choose to fly from Manchester instead of Heathrow. There was a couple that I spoke to from America. Their flight was diverted to Glasgow yesterday, and instead of getting the bus down to Heathrow, they decided to get the train here to Manchester, stayed overnight, and they're flying to Finland this afternoon, so they can still resume some of their flights, some missed holiday there. But for others I've spoken to this morning, it's actually been a bit of a boost for them. They're getting some part of a return, the couple that have missed joining a cruise, but they're going to get an extra few days in Barbados before joining that cruise in Miami, and some holidays back too. So certainly an inconvenience for a lot of people, but some kernels of joy there for others that get a few extra days of holiday due to this.
Yes, these things can work out for some people, can't
I'm
they?
glad some people are getting some good out of this. For most people, it sounds like a nightmare. Anna, Steve, thank you both very much for being with us this morning on GB News. Now, to look through...
Anna, but just a quick question.
Oh, here we go.
You know, there have been a few theories that have been coming out as to why this happened.
Oh, right, here we go.
Who did it?
Yeah.
So it seems like the latest is that there was just one very incompetent engineer
Yeah, right.
who made a massive mistake.
You think, yeah, he's sweating bullets.
The other one is Russian sabotage or some other hostile state. And the other one is net zero, because apparently we had a diesel generator and that got turned into a biomass generator, which apparently isn't as efficient.
So is it sort of a lazy or drunken engineer who made no, he might, I'm joking, but is it
I'm sure that engineer would deny that.
No. Is it the fault of a dodgy engineer, net zero, or Russia?
Or a bit of all three.
All
Who
three,
knows?
they all conspired together, did they? I don't know. Well, look, we're going to be talking about this throughout the show, aren't we? So maybe we'll get to the bottom of it, and by the end of Saturday Morning Live, we'll have all your answers. It does sound to me like it's a pretty bad idea to have your entire infrastructure relying on one.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not an engineer myself or a manager of an airport, but yes, it does sound a little bit risky. But should we take a look through our top stories?
Yeah, should we do it? Because we are joined by the political correspondent at The Guardian, Alita Adu, and former Conservative advisor, Lauren McEvitt. Thank you both for joining us. Where do we want to start, guys? We've got some meaty stories here. We've got... should we start with this one, actually? So, Alita, to you first. Labour considering plans to deport asylum seekers to the Balkans. So this is the story that now 5,000 small boats crossings this year so far. A huge record number.
Yeah.
Now the government's saying that they're going to deport failed asylum seekers to the likes of Albania and the Western Balkans. Is this going to work?
Well, I mean, look, Keir Starmer's been in this prime ministerial position for more than half a year now, and one of the first things he did was to scrap the Rwanda plan, which, obviously the Conservatives were up in arms about because it was their flagship policy, and only now they're starting to come up with proposals as to how they're going to try and, curb this small boats crisis. And yes, as you say, I mean, the story that's in the Daily Mail, it's in the Sun and the Times, they're trying to come up with plans to send people who have tried to seek asylum in the UK and send them to the Balkans. I mean, I've heard, apparently also Serbia is under consideration and also Albania. But, I mean, whether this will work, I mean, it's obviously going to cost them money that, as of next week at this spending review, we'll hear that there are going to be really massive cuts.
Good point.
To departments like the Home Office and the Justice Department. So, I mean, that's one question. But also, I mean, they're going to have to pay for every single asylum seeker who is sent to one of these return hubs.
Yeah,
so,
you can
again,
you can read the headlines on that already, can't you?
Yeah, quite. And we've just got more and more people, desperate to reach the UK from, countries that are not deemed safe, like Afghanistan and Iran. So, I mean, first, it's going to be a question of capacity. I mean, will the Balkans have enough of these return hubs in the first place? Apparently, I think there are 2 return hubs in Albania that are currently empty. So that's one idea. Again, they could start some talks with Albania also. But again, amidst so much cabinet turmoil at the top table, rather, cabinet ministers, disagreeing with each other on so many issues. You've got some of the soft left who are still saying, we need to be more compassionate and, open more safe routes for asylum seekers, and others saying, we really need to smash the gangs and just get these people out. So, I mean, it's a real balancing act for
And,
Keir
of course,
Starmer.
reform. We also learned reform is targeting so many seats that went Labour in the last election. So they'll be thinking about those voters who are very concerned about this issue, weren't they, Lauren? But, I mean, there was a lot said about the Rwanda scheme, wasn't there, Either particularly about how immoral it was and how it was against the human rights of people who have arrived in this country illegally. I mean, could you say that, could the same criticism be launched at this particular potential scheme?
So one of the things that, one of the Home Office efforts in the sort of the dying days of the last Conservative administration that didn't get as much coverage because the Rwanda scheme was so volatile in the press and in the public opinion, is we created a return scheme with Albania. This was one of the big success stories, actually, of sort of the dying days of the last Conservative administration, was a return scheme with the Albanians for Albanians who were illegally crossing into the United Kingdom, Albania obviously being a safe country. And so there is a working relationship with the Albanian government that has been working quite well as the scheme has gotten going and improved over the course of the last sort of 2-3 years, meaning that negotiations with the Albanian government to do something like this are probably significantly easier than negotiations with a government like Rwanda. I was always very nervous about the Rwanda scheme, not necessarily because of the theory behind it, but more because I'd worked in East and Southern Africa for a really long time. Rwanda is a country that has a great PR operation, but was failing to adhere to term limits for the president. A lot of nasty stories about dissidents being imprisoned. The story of the guy from Hotel Rwanda being extraordinarily rendered from Dubai back to Rwanda. There are.
Concern was what? That
my concern was
abuses against.
My concern was that if we were going to do a scheme like this, perhaps Rwanda wasn't the country to be looking at. But that undermined fundamentally the theory behind this, which perhaps was one that we should be looking at. And you see from the coverage today that, for example, the Netherlands are talking to Uganda about doing this. Uganda provides an enormous chunk of, for example, the American embassy security across the African continent. They are a secure defence partner to large chunks of the West. Perhaps that is a better option. But at the heart of this is a need to recognise two things. The first is a logistics question, which is this is a country that is significantly geographically smaller than, for example, France, which is also obviously a safe country. How do we house people? How do we support people? Enormous government expenditure involved in it, enormous housing issues involved with it. And the second issue is a political one. You've got Labour winning seats like Graham Brady's one up in Altrincham at the last election, where Graham Brady, if you read his recent memoir, talks about the number of conversations he was having about very, very nervous constituents who had asylum hotels popping up right next to their schools. These are the seats that are ripe for reform to be combating Labour on.
I think people just want a deterrent.
Yeah,
don't they?
I think that's right. I think that's right.
Labour got rid of the one deterrent. Yes, it hadn't worked yet. It wasn't in place. Got rid of that deterrent, and now they need to come up with one of their own.
But it was going to work as a deterrent. I remember reading a great article in The Guardian at the time. The Guardian sent a journalist down to Dover or somewhere and interviewed 3 people anonymously who'd come across. One of whom was from Eritrea, one of whom was from Sudan, and one of whom was another African nation. Where basically they said it was overnight the scheme had been announced, and they were interviewed about it. And they basically said, if we'd known we were going to be sent back to Africa in any regard, we wouldn't have made the decision to come to the United Kingdom. There was a deterrent element to this. It's just the mechanics of the scheme and the concerns about the country in question always overrode the potential benefits to undertaking a scheme like this, which we now see large numbers of other European countries beginning to consider.
And the numbers have gone up. Since the scrapping of Rwanda, whether it was that the reason, I don't know. But should we move on?
Yes, let's do it. I mean, because illegal immigration, that's going to be in the headlines for the rest of this Parliament, isn't it?
And we could spend the full 2 hours talking about it.
Unfortunately, we're going to very quickly go to this one. Trump to open to becoming a Commonwealth Associate Member. What do we make of this? He says it's because of his love for the king that maybe he'll consider doing this.
Alita, what do you reckon?
Yeah, I mean, this is an idea that was floated during his first term in 2017, I believe, and obviously since Keir, made his big visit to see Donald Trump, and that went, quite well for him, and of course the US officials as well.
Yeah.
It seems as though now this idea is being revived, and I think it was first floated in The Sun a few days ago, and Donald Trump, posted on his Truth Social account.
Yeah.
He loves the idea and he loves King Charles. And
exactly, his love of the monarchy is the one tool in our sort of soft power arsenal that maybe will still work over in the White House, right? I mean, we saw the prop that viewers on television are watching now. Keir Starmer handing that letter inviting a second state visit to President Trump.
Hang on. So Donald Trump just shared a link to a version of the story written by The Sun newspaper on social media, and he said, "I love King Charles. Sounds good to me." Oh, there you go. Sorted. Policy done through social media.
So I think, there are a couple of things to consider here. There is no such entity as an associate membership of the Commonwealth.
Yeah.
There has been an expansion of the Commonwealth in recent years. We have seen non-constitutionally linked former sort of colonially occupied countries who are more in the French sphere of influence joining the Commonwealth. I think there are now 4 nations in the Commonwealth with no historic constitutional link to the United Kingdom: Rwanda, I think Mozambique, Gabon and Togo. So there has been an expansion operation from the Commonwealth. But at the heart of this, problematically for the Commonwealth, for the United Kingdom and for the US, is that one of the very big members is Canada. And the United States are currently attempting to smack Canada 6 days from Sunday on tariffs on becoming the 51st state. And I can't see a scenario where you have the King on recent visits to an aircraft carrier wearing his Canadian military stuff, welcoming the new Prime Minister of Canada almost immediately in the United Kingdom. I can't see the King being wholly thrilled with having a conversation about this when Canada are being so put under so much pressure by the United States.
But Alita, if Donald Trump is willing to treat us as a special nation and continue that special relationship at the same time as he's plonking tariffs on every other sort of ally nation, including, of course, the European Union, that can only be a good thing, surely, for us.
Could only be a good thing for us, but I mean, let's see, how well this visit goes. I mean, they're still trying to finalise, those finer details, rather, and of course, I mean, this ever-looming threat of tariffs.
But it's also not just about us. The King is also the King of Canada. And so the King is not just the King of the United Kingdom. And the Commonwealth was never just about the United Kingdom. So, yes, building the special relationship as a bilateral relationship between the UK and the USA, definitely something that needs to happen. But the Commonwealth has never just been about us.
That's very true.
That's it. Well, guys, we're going to come back to you later in the show. Thanks for joining us. As I say, we'll catch up with you very shortly. Up next, though, we're going to be speaking to a leading defence analyst as the investigation into that fire that shut down Heathrow Airport yesterday continues as a Saturday Morning Live on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Headliners on GB News 11 p.m. every night. It's got 3 top comedians going through the next day's newspapers so you don't have to read them, which is great.
That's a good point. He's lying. Maybe he's not lying.
That's Headliners every night from 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. as well on GB News, Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Headliners. Tomorrow's papers tonight. Every night from 11 p.m.
Oh, yeah, good news. For women in the Times, Krista, you no longer have to feel pressured to go into a STEM subject.
Yes. Boys performing slightly better than girls in maths and science. Why is that good news for
women? Because you could just drop the pretense anymore. You don't.
Oh,
you guys.
Honey, I've been there for a long time. This is. I'm baffled by this. A study is showing.
There's lots of statistics in the article.
I will take it if there are going to be some competent men. What they're doing here is growing some competent men for the future. Great, love it. Let's not have problematic boys going around doing knife crime. Let's have boys that like maths. Fine. But I can't understand why this has changed. So they measured it in 2019 and boys and girls were kind of neck and neck. And then more recently, boys are jumping ahead. So what's changed?
You know what? You've just proved the article, and we don't need to get into the specifics.
How rude.
There's so many graphs, so many statistics in this. It would take me too long to explain it to you guys, unfortunately.
Yeah. No, I'm delighted by this because let boys have something. Let them have, girls have been out before. I used to work in schools. I was a teacher, and schools are matriarchies. They can sometimes almost be toxic matriarchies, especially primary school, where boys are encouraged to sit down, colour in, be quiet, don't move around. It's kind of feminised. And I mean, then we're always under pressure to have girls in STEM. Even as young as 5, as a teacher, I was told to intervene when the children are playing with Lego. You'll see that the boys build a huge tower right up to the sky, and then the girls will just build a tiny little house, and then their Barbies will play in them. Now, as a teacher, you have to go over to those little girls and tell them, would you not like Barbie to live in a skyscraper? Come on.
that you build and design.
GB News, the People's Channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back now. Of course, don't forget to get in touch, gbnews.com/your say. The important part of this show, and by the way, Emily, this is a new innovation, right? Peak of the week. peaks of the week. So
we didn't have that the last time I was here.
No, we got a lot of new stuff coming in. Right, so peak of the week, your highlight of the week. And let's start actually, because we've got one that's been sent in by someone familiar to both of us, which is Sophie Reaper. So Sophie's peak of the week is enjoying the hen do for one of my best friends, Jenna. So excited to celebrate her with all the girls ahead of her wedding in May. There they are. We've watched you on television. They've got, that's the groom-to-be. They've got masked to the groom-to-be, and it looks like they're about to go and hit the town, maybe have some champagne.
Love a hen do. Have you ever been on a stag do?
Do you know what? I've never actually been on a stag do yet.
None of your friends are getting married yet?
No, I think we're a year or two off, but they all come at the same time, don't they?
My sister surprised me for my hen do. We all went to Madrid.
Really?
Yeah, 7 of us, or 6 or 7 of us. Yeah.
Yeah, I've never
Love Madrid.
I've never been to Madrid.
I've
never been to Madrid. Hoping to go to Prague soon.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, my peak of the week. Sorry,
I'm
yes.
just whittering on about my...
My peak of the week is I finally fixed my bike, and I'm now cycling around again because the spring weather is sort of here. I mean, it was here yesterday. Now it's cloudy. But that's my peak of the week, so I can finally cycle.
It's not a bad one, to be fair.
Yeah,
do you wear a helmet?
Yes, I do.
Oh,
Genuinely do. Genuinely do, yeah.
It's a wild west out there.
Yeah, it's crazy out there.
It's definitely in central London.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do it myself.
It is kind of an e-bike as well, so well, you know, it's quite lame, but it goes quite far. So
you know Tom Harwood, my usual co-host.
I do know him, yeah.
He rides around on a scooter, an electric scooter.
Tom, honestly. Well, what's your... right, that's the trough of the week. That's the low moment of the week.
So my peak of the week is imagining Tom on his scooter. No, my peak of the week is actually, yes, we've had some nice weather, and I took advantage of it by taking the long route to work and just listening to some music, enjoying the sunshine, having a lovely time, trying to forget about all the doom and gloom before, you know, getting to work and things, trying to put a positive spin on things, because there's a lot of negativity, isn't there?
You've got to disconnect
And
sometimes.
the spring equinox, at least there was sunshine. I mean, if it had been raining on the first day of spring, then, you just give up, wouldn't you?
Well, yeah, I mean, the next 10 days aren't looking particularly peak of the week here, but never mind. Anyway, the investigation into the fire that shut down Heathrow Airport is ongoing, and the Metropolitan Police are not now treating the incident as suspicious.
But, as the Counter-Terrorism Command was leading the investigation yesterday, what does this incident have to say about our critical infrastructure? And, frankly, do we have the power to protect ourselves enough?
Well, joining us now is an analyst on European defence and Russia at Chatham House, Keir Giles. Keir, thank you for joining us. Keir, what do you make of all this? What's your suspicion? How did we have to shut down London's or the UK's biggest airport over seemingly one small fire? What's going on?
Well, inevitably, the reason why my phone went crazy yesterday and the reason why you're asking me now is because I've written a great deal about the vulnerabilities of our critical national infrastructure through the prism of how Russia or any other country that wants to attack us or coerce us might seek to exploit them, and looking at single points of failure and how they could get maximum effect. But at this point, it's definitely not the time to be thinking about whether any hostile actor might have triggered this. Then the way all of the speculation about who might have caused this as an external actor, as opposed to it being an accident or some kind of completely unexplained incident until the investigation is clear, is doing the attackers' work for them. Because we're now in an environment where the campaigns of sabotage that Russia in particular has carried out across Europe have led to an environment where some people, as soon as they see something going wrong, think that Russia is behind it. And that's part of what they want to do, to sow fear, uncertainty and doubt. But it's completely inappropriate.
Yes, perhaps you're right. But, Keir, there's also been speculation over whether this could be down to net zero policy that is actually weakening our infrastructure. Apparently, there was a diesel generator that got replaced by a biomass generator, and that could be a reason for some of the weakness there. What do you make of that theory?
I've also heard that. I haven't seen that confirmed from any official source, but it is an indication of how sometimes the prioritization of resilience and actually being able to withstand problems like this takes second place to other considerations. And that's not just, of course, in power generation. It's not just in infrastructure. It's across the board where this country has not been particularly good at protecting itself against the impact of incidents like this compared to, for example, the countries in the further eastern parts of Europe that are prepared for incidents because they know that they may in fact be triggered by outside causes. And they build in redundancy, resilience, multiple paths to make sure that their society can continue to function when it's under challenge and under attack. And a classic example, of course, is the state of the NHS, where health services that recognize that they might have to surge to deal with major incidents have reserve capacity. But reserve capacity, of course, comes at a cost. And when you're trimming budgets at every possible juncture, then, of course, having empty hospital beds on standby makes no economic sense. It only makes national security sense. And if the economics win the argument over national security, then you have a problem.
It's the word of our generation, a story of our generation, complacency from the people running the country. Keir Giles, thank you very much indeed for your expertise there, a defence analyst at Chatham House.
I hope that, just learn some lessons from this at least. It's such a colossal failure, isn't it?
It's horrible to always think about the worst-case scenario, but you do hope someone out there is thinking that.
Yeah, of course.
Working through all of that, so we don't have to.
Yeah, and hopefully those people are on our side and, it's not just hostile states thinking about it. Now, moving on, the Prince of Wales has joined British troops close to the Russian border in Estonia as they carry out military exercises to deter the aggressor on NATO's eastern flank. It was a royal show of soft power and solidarity with a Baltic nation which fears it could be next on Putin's hit list. Our royal correspondent Cameron Walker watched as the prince made tracks on the battlefield.
In this part of the world, NATO troops are on a war footing. Prince William's Mercian Regiment has taken over the battle group at Tapa Army Base in Estonia. The situation is increasingly foggy. Russia's offensive against Ukraine continues, and Britain's largest overseas deployment of troops anywhere in the world is stationed right here. This is a chance for the Prince of Wales to see exactly what his regiment will be up to for the next 6 months, working with NATO forces very close to the Russian border. And that image sends a strong signal to the world. Royal soft power, showing Britain is committed to NATO and defence. As President Trump demands US allies step up. Lieutenant Colonel Grant Brown suggests Britain is committed to NATO.
Our job here is to reassure our allies that we're absolutely committed to freedom and to ensure that we are ready to face any threat wherever that might come from.
Right on cue, the Prince of Wales boosted the morale of young soldiers, seeing how the camp supports their mental health. Being away from home for so long can take its toll.
I worry sometimes you guys get deployed in small groups and there's the odd one or two you don't know anyone else out of base, which is then another layer of kind of getting to know everyone and being supported.
As William returns home to the UK, his troops remain defiant as Europe's first line of defence. Cameron Walker, GB News in Estonia.
It's been a fascinating trip to cover, Cameron Walker there.
Yeah, absolutely. He's got his proper gear on as well, hasn't he?
Oh, absolutely. Got to. But up next, the US President Donald Trump has unveiled a new US fighter jet. And guess what it's called?
The Donald.
Yes, I think so. It's been named after himself, that's for sure. We're going to cross live to New York to get the very latest on that fighter jet Donald Trump this Saturday morning live on GB News, Britain's News Channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent? I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie's here with an exclusive opportunity just for you, our incredible GB News viewers. We're giving you the opportunity to win a VIP studio tour right here at GB News HQ. Plus, you'll also get to meet yours truly. It's easy to enter, just head to gbnews.com/community competition and follow the easy steps. Don't miss out, enter now, and I'll see you soon at GB News. Full T's and C's apply.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
The royal family is an enduring symbol of tradition, unity and pride for Britain. At GB News, we celebrate what makes this country great. In our new royal newsletter series, you can join me, Cameron Walker, for Inside the Palace, an exclusive look every week that takes you beyond the gates and brings you the very latest from those at the heart of the monarchy. Never miss a royal moment again. Sign up now. Go to gbnews.com/royal newsletter and get the latest straight to your inbox.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently. It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it? It's explosive. I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and he did nothing.
It's controversial. And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born. It's everything you need to kickstart your evening. Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it. That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We were talking about Donald Trump potentially making the United States an associate member of the Commonwealth, although I'm not sure if that's actually possible. Or if that's rather a unique position.
It is a unique thing. I think he's basically just made that up. But
John says, I don't think we'll get any preferential treatment by the US just for being Britain, and neither should we. John, what are you talking about? What do you mean, neither should we? If there's a trade imbalance and we charge them more than they charge us, then expect tariffs. Fair's fair, and friends pay their way. Yes, I mean, you are probably right, but it does look like Donald Trump's got his eyes on Canada, the European Union rather than
Mexico as well.
Mexico, of course, and other nations. China, of course, where the big trade war is going on. So hopefully, you never know, we might come out scrape through.
Scrape through. Something like that. Yeah.
Scrapeless.
Well,
without scrapes.
You know, it's like we said earlier. The one soft power lever we have, I think, is the monarchy, and he loves King Charles. He loves all that.
Just keep rolling them out. I'm happy for that to happen.
Yeah.
Cliff says we're all delusional. The United States has never had a special relationship with the United Kingdom. They have a special relationship when it suits them, which is fine. Presenters and guests are just filling the studio with hot air. Sorry, Cliff, but please do keep your views coming in because we can use them to, educate ourselves.
Well, clearly we need educating, according to Cliff. But never mind, moving on, because...
Good morning, Cliff.
Good morning, Cliff. We carry on chatting about the US because in a press conference yesterday, US President Donald Trump unveiled a new US fighter jet after awarding Boeing a new contract for the American Air Force.
Yes, it was a wide-ranging speech, and President Trump also said that there will be a full ceasefire in the Ukraine-Russia war very soon.
Well, let's take a listen as he announced the F-47 fighter jet.
At my direction, the United States Air Force is moving forward with the world's first sixth-generation fighter jet. Nothing in the world comes even close to it, and it'll be known as the F-47. The generals picked a title, and it's a beautiful number, F-47. I believe we're going to pretty soon have a full ceasefire, and then we're going to have a contract. And the contract's being negotiated, the contract in terms of dividing up the lands, etc.
Oh, Adam, you lied. It's not called the Donald.
No, it's called the F-47, which is... He's the 47th president.
Makes sense.
It does make sense.
Still a little bit of narcissism, why not?
Well, he said the generals picked the title. And it's a beautiful number.
It's a
47.
Beautiful number. And overnight, President Trump expressed his love for the king in a post on his social media network, Truth Social.
Now, the post was in response to a report that King Charles is considering inviting the United States to become the next, quote, associate member of the Commonwealth. Well, joining us now live from New York is US journalist and commentator Nelson Aspin. Nelson, what are the odds of your country becoming an associate member of the Commonwealth?
I'm all for it. I'm going to start working on my British accent, and
Fantastic.
I'm going to switch from coffee to tea. It's going to be terrific. But, you know, like me, Donald Trump has a great affection for the United Kingdom. He is a self-professed Anglophile. You know, it started with his mother. His mother just was in love with Queen Elizabeth. That was passed down. We rarely see Donald Trump get starstruck, but we all remember how starstruck he was by your queen, and that has passed down the generation to King Charles. He said he loves King Charles. I think this may be more of a ceremonial relationship by becoming an associate member of the Commonwealth, but it's still a nice token of friendship, a sign of our alliance together. So I'm
Nelson,
all for it.
a lot of our viewers are getting in touch. Well, a few have got in touch. You probably heard me reading out their views, and they're sceptical about the United States treating us in any kind of special way at all. They're sceptical of this idea of a special relationship. But do you think that Donald Trump is going to treat us in a special way? Do you think we'll get away without any of these burdensome tariffs and the like that he's plonking on every other country?
I have a feeling that that is correct and that will happen. From where I'm sitting here in America, reflected through Donald Trump's eyes, he does have an affection for the UK. It's very clear. It's much clearer than the previous president, or really going back that way. And it has always been that way. So I'm optimistic that that will be the case.
Nelson, where do you stand on the ceasefire claims? Right. So we just heard in the clip from President Trump there saying we might get, I can't remember the verbatim quote, but saying we're well on the way to securing that peace deal. Is that likely?
I think it is likely, and I think that President Trump is determined to make it happen. This was part of his campaign. He's always said all along that none of these global conflicts would have existed in the first place had he been president. And I think he is determined that that has got to be his legacy, to return the world to peace. And he always talks about strength through peace, which is why the new F-47 fighter jet is coming along. He's promising a $20 billion contract with Boeing. Boeing certainly needs a win, and this new fighter jet is supposed to be unbelievable. Trump called it, quote, virtually unseeable, and with unprecedented power and the next generation of modern aerial warfare. So peace through strength, that's his plan, and I think he's determined to execute it.
OK, well, Nelson Aspin, thank you very much indeed, a US political commentator there for us. I don't know, Putin's certainly been up in the ante with all these attacks, drone attacks on energy infrastructure.
Yeah, it does feel Ukraine they're slightly cornered here, aren't they?
He needs to play a bit more hardball with Putin.
Yeah,
not that I'm an expert negotiator.
No, but they're demanding these maximalist demands, aren't they, in their negotiations, and making it very difficult. Anyway, shall we move on?
Yeah, why not? Is there a gender pain gap? Not a pay gap, a pain gap. Research suggests that women's pain is still not taken seriously in terms of medicine. We're never taken seriously. We'll be speaking to two women at the forefront of such research next.
But first, if you're in search of some winter sun, here is the forecast for some of the top European holiday destinations.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
After a chilly week, things are turning warmer for Cyprus. We've seen some very heavy rain this week in Spain, but finally turning drier. Still a cold breeze coming down from the north, though, bringing a chill to the Canaries, and still quite a few heavy showers across southern Spain and for Catalonia and the Balearics too on Sunday. But it does look as if it will be turning drier. Some heavy showers for Croatia, plenty of fine and sunny weather over the Greek islands. It'll be warming up here too and turning much drier in Barcelona next week.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Morning, welcome to your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. Plenty of sunshine through the working week, but it has turned quite a bit cloudier, and through the weekend we're going to see some showers, some pretty heavy ones likely, especially later today. A bit of a dull, damp start for northeast England, eastern Scotland, parts of Northern Ireland, staying fairly damp here throughout the day. Parts of Scotland turning a bit brighter. Some sunny spells developing across England and Wales, but especially later on, some quite heavy showers are possible over parts of the Midlands and Wales. Some torrential downpours could occur here and there, but still quite mild when the sun does come out. Temperatures getting into the high teens, but with the breeze coming in from the north, quite a cool day in Northern Ireland, and where we've got the breeze coming in from the sea, feeling pretty fresh on some of these North Sea coasts as well, especially with the cloud and the outbreaks of rain covering the Northern Isles. It's quite damp too in the Western Isles. It's rain returning to the west coast of Scotland. Most of the day, as I said, pretty grey with rain on and off for Northern Ireland. Something a bit brighter for England and Wales, but there are those heavy showers that could affect Northern England, certainly over the Midlands, parts of Wales. Hit and miss, but some heavy downpours are likely, and they'll keep going into this evening as well. A lot of spray, a lot of surface water on the roads. We'll continue with outbreaks of rain coming into eastern Scotland as well as the breeze starts to strengthen here. Quite murky and misty conditions developing too. So further rain to come through the night. Generally a fairly mild night with temperatures holding up in mid to high single figures. So not a cold start to Sunday, but it will be a fairly cloudy start once more. During the day, again, we should see some breaks in the clouds, some sunny spells coming through, turning a bit drier and brighter in Northern Ireland. The rain should fizzle out across parts of Scotland. For England and Wales, much of the morning dry, but some heavy showers likely again, particularly through the afternoon tomorrow over parts of East Anglia, the Midlands and southern England. Again, quite mild in the brighter spells, but cool on some coasts.
Headliners on GB News 11 p.m. every night. It's got 3 top comedians going through the next day's newspapers so you don't have to read them, which is great.
That's a good point. He's lying. Maybe he's not lying.
That's Headliners every night from 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. as well on GB News, Britain's news channel.
This spring, the Chancellor steps up to the dispatch box to make a statement. But what kind of statement will it be?
Taxes, spending, growth, benefits, cost of living. What's changing? And more importantly, how does it affect you?
Does she have the headroom to make headway?
Will it ease the squeeze or tighten the grip? Will businesses boom or struggle to survive?
And does the spring statement have real impact, or is it just political posturing?
GB News brings you the analysis that matters. Just what it means for your money, your home, your future.
The Spring Statement 2025, Wednesday on GB News.
Well, welcome back. Now, the Liberal Democrats will kick off their spring conference in Harrogate today.
Yes, in leafy Harrogate. It's expected that they'll focus on trying to eliminate corridor care in the NHS, which they say has become the new normal.
Well, let's get the latest from our political correspondent, Catherine Forster. Catherine, what can you tell us?
Yes, good morning from Harrogate. I was just here with Sir Ed Davey a little bit earlier. He was having tea and cake with young carers. Care, a subject, of course, incredibly close to Sir Ed Davey's heart. And I'm here in Harrogate, which is also my hometown. It's a seat that the Lib Dems took back from the Conservatives last year, but it's pretty much been a Lib Dem Conservative swing seat for decades. I have to say the Lib Dems are feeling pretty chipper about their prospects in the upcoming local elections. They think they're going to take lots of council seats off the Conservatives, and they think a few off Labour too. But today at the conference, they are focusing on what they're calling corridor care. We know, don't we, that the NHS is so stretched, and very often people end up on trolleys in corridors for hours on end. They've put out some figures today that 163,000 people waited in A&E for over 12 hours after a decision had been made to admit them to hospital. They say this is totally unacceptable. They want the government to eliminate this basically by the end of this Parliament. They want the government to give an extra £1.5 billion in funding, and they talk about how these winter crises become annual events. Worth saying, of course, that the government spends more money than ever on the NHS. The spending on the NHS has gone up and up and up. But unfortunately, the treatment that many people receive just feels like it has not been getting better and has in fact in many cases been getting worse.
Yes, I mean, Ed Davey's been focusing on this issue for years and years and years, hasn't he? And the Liberal Democrats probably will do quite nicely. When the two main parties aren't doing very well, they step in, don't they? Catherine Forster, thank you very much indeed from Harrogate, where the Liberal Democrats are launching their spring conference.
Lovely place, Harrogate. You ever been?
I have actually. I can't remember why. I gave a talk at a school up there.
Oh, sorry, we've got to move on. Sorry about that. We'll get back to Harrogate chat later. Is there a gender pain gap? Because new research suggests that women's pain is not taken seriously by medical professionals.
Yes, campaigners say that a new pill aimed to treat endometriosis will reach only 1,000 women out of the 1.5 million affected by the disease.
And the figure comes as half of endometriosis patients admit to taking more than the prescribed dose of painkillers in order to fight the pain. OK, well, joining us now to discuss this issue is the CEO of gynecological health company Day, Valentina Milanova, and Josephine Vest from Body Pierce. Valentina, shall we start with you? We talked about endometriosis in the introduction. Is this just about endometriosis, or are there other conditions that women aren't being taken seriously with?
Hello, good morning. Gynecological health, women's health as a whole, is one of the biggest societal challenges that we face currently. And we can't afford to neglect the health of over half of the population, which is what we have been doing, not just under the past conservative governments, not under the previous Labour governments, but we have been doing this for decades. And in an economy where we have a cost of living crisis, where we have a demographic crisis, we really can't afford to have our incredibly talented, well-educated female population be stuck at home with a hot water bottle or drop out professionally due to the severity of their period and pelvic pain. And I do want to emphasize that research from McKinsey shows that for every pound we invest in women's health, we get an 11-pound return.
Wow, OK, and endometriosis leaves women with crippling pain, doesn't it, during their periods and around the cycle. Josephine, let's bring you in on this one. So what do we do? I mean, maternity care is also a massive issue. We've heard about how hospitals are failing many women when it comes to giving birth and everything that goes with that. What would you say, Josephine?
I haven't been lucky enough to have a little one yet, so I don't know much about that, but I've been massively failed over the 12 years that I've been dealing with endometriosis in many, many different ways. I could go on for hours.
Well, give us an idea of what you've experienced and how you were treated by the NHS.
I wasn't believed to begin with. I was passed from pillar to post. I've seen all different types of people. There was a time where after an endometriosis surgery, I got sepsis. I wasn't believed and I was sent away from the hospital and the next day was taken back in quite a serious state. I think because I was young, but also because endometriosis just isn't taken seriously at all.
Yeah, because endometriosis, I'll bring you back in, Valentina, on this one. Is it because women go to the doctor and they say, I'm having really bad pains, and then what does the doctor say sometimes? Do they say, oh, well, everyone gets bad period pains, just have a bit of Nurofen? Is that what sometimes happens, Valentina?
Period and pelvic pain is a silent public health pandemic. It affects 9 out of 10 women. And research from the British Medical Journal tells us that we lose 9 to 12 productive days each year to period pain. But we can't really blame medical professionals, we can't blame GPs, we can't blame the NHS, because there isn't research that they can rely on. We have massively underfunded gynecological health as a whole. Currently, we spend only about 2.4% of our entire public health budget for the entirety of women's health. So that 2.4% is measly, and it has to stretch to cover breast cancer, maternity care, menopause, endometriosis. And because women were not allowed to take part in clinical trials up until 1993, we don't really know how most modern medications affect the female physiology versus the male physiology.
I mean, that's a shocking gap in knowledge, isn't it? I mean, thank you both for coming on. We're going to have to leave it there because we've run out of time, unfortunately. But Valentina Milanova and Josephine Vest, thank you very much indeed. A very important issue, actually.
Absolutely. No, absolutely, of course. And could have chatted to them for longer, couldn't we?
We could have.
A lot more to chat about there. But first, we've got the weather to go to. And after that, we're going to be talking about the sad death of George Foreman.
Even though we'll see a cloudy start, it'll be a bright outlook for the rest of the day. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good morning, welcome to your latest GB News weather from the Met Office. After a very dry and sunny much of March, it's a bit of a change over this weekend with some rain and some thundery showers on the way. Low pressure very much in charge of our weather as we head through the rest of the weekend. Weather fronts out towards the north and west of the UK, bringing some quite persistent outbreaks of rain across parts of Northern Ireland and Scotland through the rest of this afternoon. A little bit drier across further south across much of England and Wales, but where we do see that sunshine, we are likely to see some showers bubbling up, particularly across Midlands, parts of central England, and those showers could be quite heavy and perhaps thundery. When we do see that sunshine, though, it will still be feeling pleasant. Temperatures well above average for the time of year, 16, 17, perhaps 18 degrees in the south, but not quite as mild further north. As we then go into Saturday evening, we see those showers across the Midlands persisting well into the evening period. Again, there could be some localised flooding in places. Some clearer spells across parts of Wales, southwest England, but for Northern Ireland, northern parts of England and much of Scotland, it's going to be a cloudy end to the day. There's outbreaks of rain continuing through Saturday evening and into the start of Sunday. As we go through the rest of the evening period and overnight, the showers across the Midlands perhaps merging to longer spells of rain as they push their way northwards, so continuing to be a really damp end to the day on Saturday here. Perhaps turning a little bit drier across the very far south, and that rain easing across parts of Northern Ireland and western Scotland into the early hours of Sunday morning, but northern and eastern areas still seeing a very damp start to the day on Sunday, and with plenty of cloud around, that does mean quite a mild start to the day too. Some places in the south perhaps holding up into the double figures to start the day. So a drier start, but a mild start across much of England and Wales. Perhaps northern England still holding on to some of that outbreaks of rain, and that gradually easing as we go through the daytime. But further south, where we do see some sunshine, once again seeing those showers bubbling up, and they could be heavy and thundery in places, again causing some localised flooding, and temperatures well above average again for the time of year.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
There's just 2 weeks left to see how you could be a spring winner, as we have an incredible £17,777 in tax-free cash to be won. And if that wasn't enough, we'll also give you the latest Mulberry handbag and not 1, but 2 sought-after designer watches. Make sure you don't miss out, as lines close on the 4th of April. For another chance to win the lot, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. Call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB12 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 4th of April. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
The royal family is an enduring symbol of tradition, unity and pride for Britain. At GB News, we celebrate what makes this country great. In our new royal newsletter series, you can join me, Cameron Walker, for Inside the Palace, an exclusive look every week that takes you beyond the gates and brings you the very latest from those at the heart of the monarchy. Never miss a royal moment again. Sign up now. Go to gbnews.com/royal newsletter and get the latest straight to your inbox.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent? I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good morning, I'm Adam Cherry alongside Emily Carver this morning on Saturday Morning Live.
Yes, it's 11 o'clock. Great to have your company this morning. Shall we take a look at what's coming up?
Let's do it, because Heathrow Airport has announced that this morning it is fully operational, it's open, hundreds of additional staff, extra flights added to the schedule to facilitate an additional 10,000 passengers travelling through the airport. Our reporter Steve Bennett is on the ground.
It's our Steve.
That's right, London Heathrow has had flights taking off and landing all morning as they look to return to business as usual.
Fantastic stuff. But it all comes as stranded passengers from across the world scramble to get home and to their destinations and try to investigate what compensation they might be entitled to following all this disruption. Anna Riley's at Manchester Airport.
It's business as usual here at Manchester Airport, but certainly busier as people are opting to fly from here instead of Heathrow.
And boxing legend George Foreman has died at 76. The two-time world heavyweight champion and former Olympic gold medalist was best known for the Rumble in the Jungle with Muhammad Ali and, of course, his cooking grills.
Apparently made him $200 million, that business.
Not bad.
A British business success in other news. M&S's new fashion range could trigger a high street stampede as their spring collection gets rave reviews from the critics. We're going to delve straight into the latest spring and summer trends shortly. M&S is cool.
So I'm told, once you get to about 30, it becomes super cool as well, I hear.
Yeah, I like a bit of M&S.
Absolutely. And Lord Sugar is still on the lookout for his next business partner. I can't read today.
Yeah, you can.
Their next business partner in The Apprentice. One of the stars of the current series, Liam Snellan, will be here to give us an insight into the demanding process.
Yes, and of course we're going to have all of today's top stories that are in the papers and across the media with our political correspondent at The Guardian, Alita Adu, and the former Conservative advisor, Lauren McKevitt.
Welcome to Saturday Morning Live, only on GB News.
I'm looking forward to a bit of a spring fashion. You know, don't get to talk about that all the time during the week.
It's not, yeah, this is it's the Saturday show, you know,
Yeah.
we talk about these sorts of issues. Yeah, I do need a bit of a new wardrobe. I'm shopping around.
Well, I didn't want to say anything.
Oh, come on. I can't believe it. I've got to stitch up here.
I'm wearing my most spring-like dress for the occasion, so there you go.
Yeah, but like we said earlier, unfortunately, it's not very springy for the next 10 days or so.
No.
That's it.
And do let us know memories of George Foreman. I must say, I'm not a boxing pro or a boxing anorak, but George Foreman, I know him best for his grills.
Yeah, fantastic grills. And like you said, they made him more money, I think, than his boxing career.
Yeah.
Just
And
astounding.
I didn't know he named all his children George.
Well, no, and Georgette. One of them was called Georgette, the daughter was called Georgette. But yeah, George the 3rd, the 4th, the 5th, and I think the 6th. So we're going to talk about all that later. Of course, don't forget, we want to hear from you, as always. Send your views, your comments, usual place, gbnews.com/your say.
But before anything else, Sam Francis has your headlines.
Very good morning to you. It's just after 11 o'clock. The top story from the newsroom this hour. Well, flights are landing again at Heathrow Airport this morning after a fire shut down much of the airport on Friday. At least 9 arrivals have already been cancelled this morning, though, despite efforts to restore a full service. Thousands of passengers were stranded yesterday when a blaze at a nearby electrical substation caused widespread disruption. Some flights did resume late last night, but knock-on delays are expected throughout the weekend and into next week. It comes as counter-terror police are now investigating the cause of that fire, but the Met Force says there's no sign of foul play. Boxing legend George Foreman has died at the age of 76. The two-time world heavyweight champion made history in 1994, becoming the oldest man to hold that title at the age of 45. He also won Olympic gold in 1968 and famously, of course, lost to Muhammad Ali in 1974's Rumble in the Jungle. Foreman later became a preacher and made millions from his iconic lean, mean grilling machine, Emily's favourite. Tributes have poured in from across the sporting world this morning, with Mike Tyson calling him a force for good. Rachel Reeves has ruled out tax and spend policies ahead of her spring statement next week, despite soaring government borrowing. She says the country can't tax and spend its way to better living standards or better public services. It comes as February's borrowing hit £10.7 billion, far above government forecasts, piling more pressure on Rachel Reeves to ease her fiscal rules. But she's already slashed aid and welfare spending, with departments ordered to review every line in their budgets. New forecasts from the OBR will frame her statement on Wednesday. Corridor care in the NHS has become the new normal and must end by the next general election. That is the call today from the Liberal Democrats at their spring conference. Health spokeswoman Helen Morgan will call for a £1.5 billion emergency fund to prepare hospitals for the winter. More than 160,000 patients waited over 12 hours for a hospital bed last winter. That's up 15% on the year before. Well, the leader of the Lib Dems, Sir Ed Davey, said this morning that they're offering the only real opposition on the NHS and adult social care.
I'm really worried about what's happening in hospitals up and down the country. I go to my own local hospital and there's so many people being treated in the corridors of the hospital, and that's not right, it's not good medicine, and it's not dignified. And so we need to end corridor care. So we put forward a plan, a Liberal Democrat plan, to do that over the next few years, and we're calling on the government to step up.
Well, let's just bring you a breaking update from the situation in the Middle East. We're just hearing reports that Israel is now currently attacking Hezbollah in southern Lebanon. They are also warning that they will severely respond after rockets have been fired from Lebanon into Israel overnight, the first since a ceasefire deal took effect in November of last year. We're hearing that 3 rockets were intercepted over the north of Israel. No group, though, claiming responsibility at this stage. Prime Minister of Lebanon urging the army to stop the country being dragged into yet another new war. But Israel says the state of Lebanon is responsible for what has been taking place. 3 deaths reported also in that latest incident. UN peacekeepers saying the escalation of that volatile situation on the border with Lebanon and Israel could have serious consequences for the region. And it comes, as, of course, after that conflict last year already killed around 4,000 people in Lebanon, displacing more than 1 million. We will keep across the developments there in the region and bring you the very latest as we get it. Meanwhile, back here in London, protesters are expected to gather outside the Israeli embassy this weekend as 4 pro-Palestine demonstrations and counter-protests take place across the capital. Strict police conditions have been imposed to prevent serious disruption, though no counter-protests are currently planned. Sunday's protest, though, will see demonstrators marching down Oxford Street to a rally near the BBC headquarters. And a pro-Israel group, Stop the Hate, also plans to hold a counter-protest at the same time in Oxford Circus. Those are the latest headlines. I'll be back with you in around half an hour. Now, though, it's over to Emily and Adam.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Thank you, Sam. Now, Heathrow Airport is open and almost fully operational.
And we're delighted
today.
about it.
No. Moving on. Hundreds of additional staff and more flights added to the schedule to facilitate an extra 10,000 passengers travelling through the airport.
At least they're taking off, though. I mean, it sounds like it's going to be a nightmare at the airport, though, trying to get through security and all of that. But this, of course, comes as the airport was accused of colossal failure after it was shut down yesterday following a fire at one local electrical substation.
More than 1,300 flights were cancelled, 200,000 people impacted, and, of course, delays expected for days. Now, let's get the latest from our reporters who are on the ground. Steve Bennett at Heathrow and Anna Riley at Manchester Airport. Steve, to you first. What's going on at Heathrow now? Planes finally taking off.
Yes, they are, and I'm also delighted that the planes are taking off. We have been here since 6:30 this morning, and the runways have been very busy with planes taking off, landing about one every minute. Usually it's one every 45 seconds here at London Heathrow, but service is pretty much almost there at full steam. They're hoping to operate 85% of their schedule today, but we are hearing reports that British Airways have cancelled 80 flights, so the delays, unfortunately, are ongoing for some passengers. And as you mentioned, about 250,000 passengers affected yesterday, and the main issue being those flights, those crews, those passengers aren't where they're meant to be, so they have to repatriate a lot of those people to get them in the right areas so that service can resume here at London Heathrow.
Thank you. Let's go to Anna Riley at Manchester Airport. Anna, what's it like at Manchester at the moment?
It's business as usual at Manchester Airport, but certainly a lot busier. Yesterday, Manchester Airport received 5 planes that were diverted from Heathrow that landed at Manchester Airport. It had to cancel 6 flights between Manchester and Heathrow, but it's business as usual today, but certainly busier. They've not put on any extra flights, but the flights that are going out are at capacity. Around 234 flights per day from here. And speaking to passengers that have been affected by Heathrow, they've told me that they decided to come to Manchester just to secure them getting that flight. They were unsure whether Heathrow would be operational, so that's what many people have been doing, coming here to Manchester to make sure that they can get their flights.
Very much. Anna Riley there at Manchester Airport and Steve Bennett before her at Heathrow. I hope everyone's baggage is in the right place and the food isn't off.
I can't imagine.
It
would be such a nightmare, wouldn't it? I mean, imagine if you've got to, go to a cruise ship or something and now it's in a different port and...
chasing the cruise ship.
Chasing the cruise...
Nightmare. Absolute nightmare. Can't say I've ever done that, but...
Well, you've never been on a cruise, have you?
No.
Oh, well.
That was something older people did. Actually, apparently, lots of young people are going on it. They're getting all these young influencers on Instagram to go on the cruises to make them hip.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's sort of. I like cruise ship. It takes the stress out of the holiday, in theory. Anyway, unless your plane gets delayed.
Anyway, I think we touched on something earlier with that chat about endometriosis.
Yes.
There's a huge number of people have got in touch.
We've got lots of views coming in, haven't we?
We've got lots of views coming in. Young at Art says endometriosis is like having your stomach in a vice. These scientists know. Marilyn's got in touch. She says, my migraine pain was not taken seriously for many years, being referred to my GP as PMT. Then my husband, who is being treated for depression, said to our GP that my awful migraines were partly the cause. It was only then that my migraines were taken seriously and some decent treatment given. If that's true, Marilyn, that is absolutely shocking stuff. Yeah. Sharon says, my wife suffers from endometriosis quite badly, so much so she passes out and is sick. One doctor told her she had an STD, which she hadn't, but could have caused major problems between us. Yes, I imagine so. Well, but it's an interesting one, isn't it? Should we bring in Lauren?
Yes, we've got our panel here, our fabulous panel who are joining us, the political correspondent at The Guardian, Alita Adu, and former Conservative advisor, Lauren McKevitt. So we've got some views here as well. By the way, have you got peaks of the week as well, actually? We should ask about that. So your highlight of the week. We did ours earlier. Highlights. I'm putting you on the spot.
You really are.
You're supposed to pop out of your spot.
But no, going back over the week, what's the highlight of my week? Just my week or in general?
It's usually your personal highlight. But if you want to have some time to think about it.
Yes, please. That would be great.
Okay.
Can we,
Give me some time to think about it, because I'm sure something...
Let's go full McKinsey and circle back on that, shall we?
I mean, mine was just taking the long route to work because the weather was so lovely and listening to some nice music on my way, because it felt lovely, didn't it? On the spring equinox, beautiful day, beautiful sunshine, nice crisp air. Beautiful.
Lovely. And Lisa says, my peak of the week was finding out at the age of 76 how to cook a perfect fried egg.
It took you to 76?
Well, do get in touch, Lisa. I'd like to know how it's done. Should we move on to the stories and do some proper news now? How about that?
Some meaty stuff, I think so.
Yeah, so let's go with this one. So, Alita, Ed Miliband admits solar panels from schools and hospitals will come from China, admitting that Beijing are going to be supplying a lot of this stuff for the state-owned GB Energy to make panels for the public sector.
Yeah, well, I mean, since Labour's been in government, it's clear that Keir Starmer and his cabinet have been trying to change the UK's relations rather with China. In comparison to Rishi Sunak, who definitely saw China as more of a hostile state. We've got Keir Starmer and Rachel Reeves and Ed Miliband cozying up to Chinese officials and leaders even making visits. And now we've got the former Conservative Party leader, Sir Ian Duncan-Smith, saying something that many MPs across the House believe in, that, Labour seems to be bending the knee to a totalitarian state by allowing China to produce our solar panels that are going on top of, infrastructure like schools and hospitals. It's really quite interesting. It alarms many people. I mean, there are wider questions of economic security and, wider production. Why can't we have more of this built in the UK? I mean, it could have obviously, boost jobs and boost growth here. But I mean,
it's one of the arguments in favour of net zero made by this government is, as you say, it's supposed to wean us off insecure fossil fuels from potentially hostile states and outside, off our own shores. And yet here we are, taking all these solar panels from China. It sort of defeats the purpose of the entire enterprise, doesn't it, Lauren?
Yeah, well, it's really hard to manufacture things in this country. It's really expensive. The cost of doing business is extraordinarily high. And I think that when it comes to public sector investment, we're obviously looking to make sure that we are being very efficient in the amount of money we're spending. So do you then elect to buy a hypothetical, at this point, British-made solar panel for £200 or a Chinese-made solar panel for £80? We used to have a factory in North Wales for Sharp who made solar panels, and they left and moved their manufacturing to Eastern Europe probably about 12 years ago now, because the cost of manufacturing was too high. So Ed Miliband is sort of in a catch-22 here, of wanting to do more renewable generation, but not really having the manufacturing base within the United Kingdom to justify doing anything other than purchasing from China?
Yeah, I mean, I just think it's ridiculous. I mean, China isn't going to be producing these solar panels in a green way, are they? They have some of the dirtiest energy production and manufacturing in the world. I know they're moving into renewables as well, but very much at the same time as producing more coal. And so we're trying to make things all nice and green here with the solar panels, but it ain't green.
Exactly. And if you look at the improvements in the United Kingdom over the last 15 years, getting towards energy neutrality and manufacturing renewables work here, none of it is going to make a difference to global temperatures if China doesn't start to play ball. It is entirely in the hands of China, India, and to a certain degree other developing nations to take similar action to this, because the United Kingdom taking action alone on this is not actually going to move the ball on global temperature changes.
Yeah, absolutely. Lisa, very quickly, I want to chat about this story as well. So the North East to pay a record £444 more in council tax than London does. I mean, that's an extraordinary figure.
Yeah, it's really crazy. And in the northeast of England, I mean, child poverty levels are incredibly high. You've got families struggling with fuel poverty. The cost of living in the north is really remarkable, and yet they are the ones paying the price of these council tax rises. I mean, it's really angered a lot of Labour MPs who have constituents in those areas, and they're calling for some sort of reform to the system. I mean, one MP said this current system is worse than Thatcher's poll tax, for example. Angela Rayner was on the rounds the other day basically arguing for the case that only those in areas in which there are smaller properties would only be asked to pay the higher price. But I mean, the gulf between, again, the north and London is quite drastic. I mean, we've got the north having to pay from next month as much as £2,400.
Wow, that's a lot of money. To earn a lot of money.
Right. I mean, in comparison to London, where the rates are around £1,800 in comparison. I mean,
why is it, though?
At the heart, yeah, we do, actually. And the head of the IFS has been on Twitter this morning talking about this. At the heart of this problem is the fact that we've not had what's called a council revaluation since 1991. So at the heart of all council tax calculations across England, there has not been a revaluation of the property market in this country since 1991, which means that the bedrock for the calculations is so wildly off as to be unbelievable. But it's such a politically hot topic for parties of all colours to approach the housing market, the single, the Englishman's home is his castle element of Britain and England, and say we're going to revalue every home in England. Wales did it a couple of years ago, but again, they hadn't done it for 20 years.
London properties.
They're undervaluing all properties, and they're not valuing new properties that have come online since 1991. Obviously, millions of homes have been built in the interim. Millions of new areas have been developed in the interim. Nothing has been revalued since 1991 in England.
East, expected to pay £2,000 a year on council tax.
Exactly.
Meanwhile, I'm seeing local services nosedive or not be adequate at least.
Yeah, your bins aren't being collected on time, all this sort of thing.
Well, and social care. At the heart of this is social care, which is financed through local government.
To be fair, there are a lot of needs, aren't there?
Yeah.
There are a lot of needs. People are getting older. People are suffering from various conditions. But thank you very much, Alita and Lauren. Thank you very much for your time.
Absolutely. Now we're going to move on because time is running out on your chance to spruce up your spring and grab designer watches. A designer bag, 17,770 quid in tax-free cash. What would you spend it on? Well, it could all be yours. Here's all the details you need.
There's just 2 weeks left to see how you could be a spring winner, as we have an incredible £17,777 in tax-free cash to be won. Cash that you'll be able to spend on anything you like. And if that wasn't enough, we'll also give you the latest Mulberry handbag and not one, but 2 sought-after designer watches, so you can style it out this spring. Make sure you don't miss out, as lines close on the 4th of April. For another chance to win the lot, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. Call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB12 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 4th of April. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Well, best of luck with that one. Up next, consumer journalist Harry Wallop will join us to share what your rights are as passengers when it comes to refunds and compensation following yesterday's disruption at Heathrow. And we'll be reflecting on the death of George Foreman, aged 76. This is Saturday Morning Live, only on GB News.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel, and as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Sunday with Michael Portillo from 11, only on GB News.
First of all, are we talking about the West and the East, or is this a Western phenomenon?
Wholly Western phenomenon, which excludes China, where things are still in a healthy state.
What's happening in the West, then?
It's been going on for quite a while, and it started with the universities, and then affected the Biennales conferences. Basically, it's this left drift, and the sense that as in Vogue, we should care about the downtrodden, the marginal groups, the global south. We should criticize what's going on, and there's a sense of illegitimacy with everything which now is developed in most of the real-world developments we are, for instance, doing, as being neoliberal architecture. And so the discourse is shifting away, ignoring that and saying this is fallen, this is commercial, this is compromised. And we have a discourse about another world caring and looking after those who have been discriminated against, and that pulls a discourse and critical debate away from what's going on, and therefore what's going on is bereft of critique, of exposure, of debate, and becomes a craft.
We are looking at, on the screen at the moment, at some of the great buildings that you have been involved in. So tell me about the background to these. I mean, you were one of the architects here. What was your education? What was your inspiration? What led you to create buildings that look like that?
So I was originally educated in Stuttgart, Germany. I came here as a student, went to the South Bank University in exchange program, and as a student joined Zaha Hadid, who was a rising star in the field. And at that time, there was really a thriving discourse in architecture, grappling with this new world.
GB News, the People's Channel.
This spring, the Chancellor steps up to the dispatch box to make a statement. But what kind of statement will it be?
Taxes, spending, growth, benefits, cost of living. What's changing? And more importantly, how does it affect you?
Does she have the headroom to make headway?
Will it ease the squeeze or tighten the grip?
Will businesses boom or struggle to survive?
And does the spring statement have real impact, or is it just political posturing?
GB News brings you the analysis that matters. Just what it means for your money, your home, your future.
The Spring Statement 2025, Wednesday on GB News.
Well, it's 11:24. Welcome to Saturday Morning Live. Now, after the chaos following the Heathrow fire yesterday, hundreds of thousands of passengers are waking up this morning needing to make rather different plans.
Yes, many will also be trying to start the process of claiming back some money or compensation, at least, following the disruption. An absolute nightmare there.
I managed to do this actually the other day because I was delayed, diverted, etc., etc. So you can do it. It can be done.
Yeah.
Joining us now to share what may or may not be possible when it comes to getting your money back is consumer journalist Harry Wallop. Harry, thank you very much indeed. So what are the airports and the airlines going to say about this one?
Well, the key thing is whether your airline is registered in the UK or the EU, because one of the huge benefits of being part of the European Union was that they fought very hard for consumers. You do have lots of rights. If you're not on an EU or UK airline, then that's a slightly different issue, and that's going to come down to your insurance and your travel insurance. But let's just presume that you are on a UK and EU airline going into Heathrow or out of Heathrow, or just trying to get back to the UK. You do have quite a few rights, and the key thing is, your airline has to get you to your destination. If you want to still carry on going to whatever it might be, a holiday or business, and you've been hideously delayed because of this nightmare at Heathrow, your airline has to get you there. Or if you choose to, you can accept a refund, a full refund on the cost of your flight. You accept the refund, and that's it. All bets are off. You take the money, and you aren't entitled to anything more. If you get the rerouting, well, the airline's got to get you there as quickly as possible. And we've heard of sort of amazing stories of people flying from Australia and landing in Paris. This is on a Qantas flight, and they're having to get a coach from Paris to London. So, yeah, you have to accept kind of what you're given.
No, you have to accept a bus.
But how?
Oh, I'd be furious.
You would, wouldn't you?
Well, I suppose the choice is, do you want to get to London or do you not want to get to London?
Exactly.
Be quicker than waiting 24 hours.
Yeah.
What are the things you need to look out for, Harry? Let's say I wanted to fly from Heathrow to Berlin yesterday. It's been cancelled. So the immediate steps I take and the mistakes I shouldn't be making.
Okay, so the key thing is contact the airline. It's the airline's responsibility to sort all of this out. All receipts. If you were stuck in an airport, you are entitled, it's slightly old-fashioned, you're entitled to the costs of communication from the days when we had to use payphones. But essentially, you could claim, the cost of making some telephone calls or sending some emails from an internet cafe. I mean, realistically, most people just do it free from their phone. But food, you are entitled to food and drink if you're delayed by more than 2 hours. And obviously yesterday, people were delayed by a lot more than that. You have more rights the further that you're,
And Harry, how nice a meal can you have? Sorry to interrupt, but how nice a meal can you have? Because this is difficult, isn't it? Because some people think, I can probably only get a little sandwich from Pret or whatever, or Sainsbury's. But can you actually have a 3-course meal at a nice restaurant?
Well, no, that comes down to your airline and in the small print, and it will vary according to different airlines. So, no, you can't just go to the Gordon Ramsay in Terminal 5 or the Champagne Bar, completely crash out and expect to get full compensation. And the other thing is, yes, they will cover your basic costs. The key thing is accommodation. If you were stuck overseas, if you had to go to a hotel, they've got to pay for that. And that's up to them to find the hotel. You must go to the airline. You can't just book yourself into Claridge's.
Yeah.
Oh, bummer.
Thank you, Harry, for joining us. Really. Sorry, Harry, we're going to have to leave it there. I'm really sorry, but thank you for joining us. Really do appreciate it. Honestly, thank you for joining us and letting us know that there's the hope out there.
No Claridge's for you, Adam.
No Claridge's, no Gordon Ramsay, but at least you will be able to get to where you're supposed to be going. Now, as Christians across the world observe Lent, we are bringing you daily reflections from ministers around the United Kingdom. Here's today's message.
The GB News Daily Reflection.
Hi, I'm Mark Wilson, a vicar in the Church of England. We're all following something. You might not even know it. If that's money, a brand, or a political party, we all have something that is God to us. The thing is in the psalm, there lies the truth. The idols of the nations are silver and gold, made by human hands. The Psalms also say they have mouths but cannot speak, eyes but they cannot see. We can make our gods, and as we do that, we trust that they will save us, but they don't. And they give us a big ego or something that will make us believe that we're okay. However, what will we truly get if we believe in ourselves?
Well, England won their first match under new manager Thomas Tuchel last night.
Aidan McGee joins us in the studio now to tell us all about it. Aidan, what's going on?
Well, look, I mean, he stepped onto the Wembley turf last night. There was a little bit of a fanfare, actually. Albania were the visitors for the World Cup qualifier, so quite an important game. It's just difficult for some fans to get up for these games because of the quality of the opposition. And let me be clear, Albania are not mugs, but they do defend so resiliently. So it's never going to make for an enticing spectacle. But Tuchel came out and kind of slid in under the fanfare, if you like. He didn't want to make it about him. And the team got the job done. They're playing Latvia on Monday. You know, with FIFA's desire to expand these World Cups to 48 and 64 teams, qualifying is going to be more of the same. It's going to be more dull football, unfortunately.
Yeah, they did expand it, didn't they? Is this the first one?
No, this is not just yet. They're looking to expand it even further into the future, but it's going to be 48 next time and then 64 apparently after that. I mean, qualifying is not going to be necessary in future, not for the top sides anyway. But look, as I say, the team got the job done. Miles Lewis-Skelly, give a word for him because, you know, I think it was 18 years and 176 days, the youngest England debutant goalscorer since Marcus Rashford quite recently. Wow. So look, let's hear what he had to say because I mean he was a little bit critical of the way Gareth Southgate's side finished or played last summer. It's difficult to make that comparison with the qualifiers, though, because, you know, Southgate qualified very comfortably. But nonetheless, let's have a listen to what Tuchel had to say last night after the game.
I felt us not disciplined enough in the structure anymore, and we tried a little bit too much alone, and we tried a little bit too much out of position, and it slowed our game down, and we were not so well organized to control the counterattacks. Later, with the second goal, the game was over and we could see it out.
So that's Thomas Tuchel, very clear that he wants his side to do better. Very early days, why wouldn't he want an improvement? We all expect it, and they've got a big chance to improve even further against Latvia at Wembley on Monday.
Absolutely.
And how should we remember George Foreman? The sad news that he's died at age 76.
I think for Mike Tyson to say this morning, one of my heroes, I think that would be an apt way to reflect on his life. 76 years old he was. His family announced overnight that he had died. Almost 3 separate careers. I mean, there were 21 years separated his 2 heavyweight title wins. And the second one was when he was 45. That was, 94?
That's incredible.
He knocks out the undefeated Michael Moorer, having taken the great Evander Holyfield the distance 3 years before, back in 1991. And then after that, he became a minister. Well, he was actually already a church minister back in the 70s. He founded his own church. And then he had all this success with the George Foreman grill, which my mum used to get rather mistakenly call it the George Formby grill. But that's another story. But she, anyway, how much do you reckon he made from these grills? Given that he had a very, very successful boxing career, his earnings from the George Foreman grill were dwarfed what he
Aidan,
earned
I
as a
looked it
boxer.
up. Well, actually, I asked Google.
No,
now, it might be wrong, but $200 million.
Yeah, you're right.
Am I right?
It's unbelievable, and as you say...
No, he didn't invent it. He didn't invent it.
So he put his
put his face to it.
He put his name and his face. It was a savvy business move, right? Yeah. And he made $200 million, way more than he ever did from boxing.
Way more, yeah.
When I think of a grill, I think of a George Foreman grill.
I know.
That was my first thought when I heard the news.
And Diamond told me this morning that Hulk Hogan was offered it and turned it down. He must be ruining that decision.
Oh, yeah, but maybe he wouldn't have sold as many.
Yeah,
maybe he wouldn't have sold as many.
Aidan, thank you very much for joining us. Really appreciate it. Lots more still to come on the show today. But first, let's get the news headlines with Sam Francis.
Very good morning to you from the newsroom at just after 11:30. The top story, well, Heathrow Airport is back to full operations after a massive power outage shut it down for hours. The blaze at an off-site substation knocked out the electricity on Thursday night, forcing mass cancellations and delays. Flights did resume on Friday evening, with extra slots now added today to help more than 10,000 passengers get moving. Officials say the fire isn't being treated as suspicious, and investigations are now focused on electrical equipment. Heathrow's CEO has apologised, though, calling it one of the airport's biggest ever disruptions. As we were just hearing, boxing legend George Foreman has sadly died at the age of 76. The two-time world heavyweight champion made history in 1994, becoming the oldest man to hold that title at the age of 45. He also won Olympic gold in 1968 and famously lost to Muhammad Ali in the 1974 Rumble in the Jungle. Foreman later became a preacher and made millions from his iconic lean, mean grilling machine. Tributes have been pouring in today from across the sporting world, with Mark Tyson among them, calling him a force for good. Corridor care in the NHS has become the new normal and must end by the next general election. That is the call from the Liberal Democrats today at their spring conference. Health spokeswoman Helen Morgan will call for a £1.5 billion emergency fund to prepare hospitals for the winter period. It comes as more than 160,000 patients waited over 12 hours for a hospital bed last winter, up 15% on the year before. Well, speaking to reporters earlier, the Lib Dem leader, Sir Ed Davey, said that they are offering the only real opposition on the NHS and adult social care.
I'm really worried about what's happening in hospitals up and down the country. I go to my own local hospital and there's so many people being treated in the corridors of the hospital, and that's not right, it's not good medicine, and it's not dignified. And so we need to end corridor care. So we put forward a plan, a Liberal Democrat plan, to do that over the next few years, and we're calling on the government to step up.
And Donald Trump has revoked security clearances for Kamala Harris, Hillary Clinton and a string of other top former officials. The move also confirms Trump's decision to strip Joe Biden and any other member of the Biden family of access to classified information. A total of 14 names appear on that list, including Anthony Blinken, Liz Cheney and former Russian advisor Fiona Hill. Trump says it's no longer in the national interest for them to retain access. Former presidents, though, and top officials do usually keep their clearances as a courtesy. That's the news on GB News. A full roundup of all the top stories at midday, and Adam and Emily will be straight back after this.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently. It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it? It's explosive. I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial. And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born. It's everything you need to kickstart your evening. Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it. That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
The royal family is an enduring symbol of tradition, unity and pride for Britain. At GB News, we celebrate what makes this country great. In our new Royal Newsletter series, you can join me, Cameron Walker, for Inside the Palace, an exclusive look every week that takes you beyond the gates and brings you the very latest from those at the heart of the monarchy. Never miss a royal moment again. Sign up now. Go to gbnews.com/royal newsletter and get the latest straight to your inbox.
We We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel, and as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes and Kerr weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Saturday Morning Live. Now, we've had some lovely spring weather this week, haven't we? We were talking about it earlier. Fantastic weather.
You can walk around without a big fat coat on.
Finally. So, you might be thinking it is time for a little bit of a wardrobe refresh this weekend.
I think it's about time. High street retailers have been unveiling their new collections with the arrival of the warmer weather, with critics warning that British staple M&S faces a stampede due to the popularity of their new ranges.
Well, absolutely. So, what pieces are worth investing in this season? And will these trends last into the summer months?
Well, joining us now is fashion and upcycling consultant Tendai Morewa. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. I mean, you look fabulous.
Thank you.
You certainly fit this story wonderfully.
Thank you for having me.
Firstly, upcycling, is that just improving an old piece of...
Exactly. It's just taking your old clothes and, making something out of your old T-shirt, your old dress, cutting your dress into a top, adding some frills, and then you got a new wardrobe.
Just using your old stuff, not chucking it out, making it better.
Yeah.
So what should we be wearing this spring, then?
This spring, we're going a little bit less bold prints, but we're focusing more on textures and embroidery and more brighter colours. The reds are in, the blues, and the minis are back in.
The minis?
The minis, forgive me. The mini skirt. I was going to say what?
The mini skirt is back in.
Well, good.
Oh, gosh, we're all going to have to get our pins out, Adam. Oh, dear.
Are we?
Oh, dear, yeah, we are. Mini shorts for men, maybe?
Yeah. So what? Right. So for women, it's the mini skirt. What's for the blokes? For the chaps? What have I got to be looking at this spring?
Well, we were still, some nice bright coloured shorts are back in for
bright coloured shorts.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I've got a couple of trips to Spain this summer.
You're sorted.
You've got to wear bright colours.
Yeah,
wear your bright colours.
absolutely.
So M&S, Marks and Spencer, they seem to be doing very well.
Yeah. I think what they've managed to do is to get the young audience as well. We see it on TikTok. They've got a trend with their jackets. Everybody's loving it. So the mums and the daughters can all wear the same collection.
Oh, I've seen so many TikToks, you're absolutely right, of younger women going into M&S, trying on the clothes, showing off their M&S haul, is what they call it, and, just pushing the clothes. They like it. They say, it's cool now.
I think that's amazing, because I think, there shouldn't be ageism in shops. We should all go to one shop and come out with whatever we want, and they've managed to do that. And they're bringing out this collection where they've got 10 dresses each month from April to June, and it's affordable to everyone and just perfect for summer.
Yeah, and then I suppose quite good quality. Where else on the high street can people go, if they don't want to spend too much money?
I would, as an upcycling consultant, I always say, reach out to your local charity shop and, support them by just buying whatever they have and revamp it. Add some buttons, some embroidery, and there you go.
What if you're not very good at the old arts and crafts? Like me.
That's where the upcycling consultant is.
Right, okay. That's why we're talking to you.
To help.
So if I had an old dress and I thought, it's great quality, the material, but I don't like the way it fits, or I just want to make a new outfit out of it, what would I do?
Would you turn it into a skirt?
Maybe.
Would you cut it, add an elastic? You know, most of the material add a frill down there or make it a top. There's so many ways that you could do that.
Add a little thrill, Adam.
Absolutely. You know what? Did I read correctly? Denim is back in a big way. Is that right?
Denim is back. So Marks and Spencer have got the denim jacket with these gold buttons. It's gone viral. Everybody loves it. It's such a versatile piece. You can dress it down, dress it up.
Double denim as well, is that in?
It's in.
It is.
It's back
You
in.
seem excited about the double denim. Are you going to rock this look?
Stay tuned. This time.
Stay tuned for the double denim.
You never know.
I've seen quite a lot of these denim sort of all-in-ones with the sort of zip. They probably don't suit every figure, although, you know, wear what you like, but they do look great.
Exactly, and I mean, that's what it is about. You know, fashion is whatever suits you, you know, go with that.
Go with that. Well, there you go.
Yeah,
go with
there
the
we go. There we go. Like I said, stay tuned. Double denim this time next week. You never know what's going to happen. Kendall, thank you very much for joining us on the show.
Thank you very
really
much indeed.
Now, still to come, we'll be joined in the studio by Apprentice star excuse me. Let's try that again, shall we? We're joined in the studio by Apprentice star Liam Snellan. But first, if you're in search of some winter, almost springy, summery sun, here's the forecast for some of the top European holiday destinations.
You're looking happy.
Well, the forecast looks good.
So you've sorted the travel insurance then?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
After a chilly week, things are turning warmer for Cyprus. We've seen some very heavy rain this week in Spain, but finally turning drier. Still a cold breeze coming down from the north, though, bringing a chill to the Canaries, and still quite a few heavy showers across southern Spain and for Catalonia and the Balearics too on Sunday. But it does look as if it will be turning drier. Some heavy showers for Croatia, plenty of fine and sunny weather over the Greek islands. It'll be warming up here too and turning much drier in Barcelona next week.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Good morning. Welcome to your latest GB News weather from the Met Office. After a very dry and sunny much of March, it's a bit of a change over this weekend with some rain and some thundery showers on the way. Low pressure very much in charge of our weather as we head through the rest of the weekend. Weather fronts out towards the north and west of the UK are bringing some quite persistent outbreaks of rain across parts of Northern Ireland and Scotland through the rest of this afternoon. A little bit drier across further south across much of England and Wales, but where we do see that sunshine, we are likely to see some showers bubbling up, particularly across Midlands, parts of central England, and those showers could be quite heavy and perhaps thundery. Where we do see that sunshine, though, it will still be feeling pleasant. Temperatures well above average for the time of year, 16, 17, perhaps 18 degrees in the south, but not quite as mild further north. As we then go into Saturday evening, we see those showers across the Midlands persisting well into the evening period. Again, there could be some localised flooding in places. Some clearer spells across parts of Wales, southwest England, but for Northern Ireland, northern parts of England and much of Scotland, it's going to be a cloudy end to the day. There's outbreaks of rain continuing through Saturday evening and into the start of Sunday. As we go through the rest of the evening period and overnight, the showers across the Midlands perhaps merging to longer spells of rain as they push their way northwards, so continuing to be a really damp end to the day on Saturday here. Perhaps turning a little bit drier across the very far south, and that rain easing across parts of Northern Ireland and western Scotland into the early hours of Sunday morning, but northern and eastern areas still seeing a very damp start to the day on Sunday, and with plenty of cloud around, that does mean quite a mild start to the day too. Some places in the south perhaps holding up into the double figures to start the day. So a drier start, but a mild start across much of England and Wales. Perhaps northern England still holding on to some of that outbreaks of rain, and that gradually easing as we go through the daytime. But further south, where we do see some sunshine, once again seeing those showers bubbling up, and they could be heavy and thundery in places, again causing some localised flooding, and temperatures well above average again for the time of year.
Headliners on GB News 11 p.m. every night. It's got 3 top comedians going through the next day's newspapers so you don't have to read them, which is great.
That's a good point. He's lying. Maybe he's not lying.
That's Headliners every night from 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. as well on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is the nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get the book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Saturday Morning Live. Now, how fierce is the competition to become Lord Sugar's next business partner? Well, our final guest today has been in the throes of that competition.
Goodness me, yes. Liam Snellan is taking part in the current series of The Apprentice, and he worked as an electrician for 10 years, and now he's turning his hand to making comfortable yet fashionable workwear. So there you go.
Well, Liam, thank you very much for joining us in the studio. We were chatting a little bit off air, but let's carry on that conversation. Because first of all, I just want to ask what it's like to be a contestant on The Apprentice, having been a fan of the show for years prior. Is it a bit weird?
Yeah, do you know what? I wouldn't say it's weird. I feel like you can manifest anything in life, you know, and over 10 years ago I said that I wanted to be on the show with no real business at the time and not knowing how I was going to do it. But as I said, I manifested it and I'm here and on the show.
You manifested it? How did you manifest it then? Go on.
Well, you just need to vision that something has already happened, you know, you just haven't attained it yet, so you just need to attain the frequency to achieve that thing, and that's obviously what I've done, and it's my time. I'm glad that I finally got on the show.
Do you know what? I did that with this job.
You manifested it?
I manifested it. I thought about it over and over. And you have to do the work to get there as well.
Of course.
Manifesting does work. I don't think it's a load of nonsense. I think it's actually true. But Liam, are you still on the show?
I am still on the show.
How far did you make it?
So, well, you have to wait and see. You have to wait and see. Obviously,
could be the winner.
Yeah, could be. So it was episode 8 last week. We had a little bit of banter about a hot sauce. I was licking a plate, which was a bit embarrassing. But me and Lord Sugar had a bit of banter.
Why are you licking the plate, Liam?
So we was doing an advertisement for our hot sauce brand, and we didn't actually have the bottle, so we needed to sort of think on our feet and make an advert without having the product.
How long are you in... So, 2 questions. First of all, how long are you in the boardroom? Obviously, it has to be sliced down to an hour, but you must be in there for a long time, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So obviously, you're in there a lot longer than what it shows. You know, it's such a small part of the show when really you're in there for like up to a couple of hours. So it's a really intense period. Like, they definitely go into all of the task and the good things and the bad things that happened, and then obviously the key highlights get shown to the public.
Yeah,
or lowlights.
Well, you know, sometimes it's all entertainment. Do you know what I mean?
So this is the thing. This is what I want to ask you, because do people go on this show because they've got a fantastic business idea and they genuinely want to be Lord Sugar's business partner, or do some of the people go on the show to try and get a media profile and things like this, which is fine, but where do you think it falls?
I think each to their own, do you know what I mean? I can only speak for myself. I went on the show to win the show, do you know what I mean? Lord Sugar's been a role model of mine for a long time. I feel like he's definitely given back to the communities, and he's definitely someone to learn from, especially in business, do you know what I mean? So for me, I want to become his business partner. I want to show that I have the skills and a great business to grow. I want to become the Gymshark of the workwear industry.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about your business, actually.
Yeah,
so why should Lord Sugar, why should he hire you?
So, to be honest, Lord Sugar should hire me because I feel like I've got what it takes to really take this business to the next level. I worked on the tools for over 10 years, and that is where I found a gap in the market for comfortable and fashionable workwear. Yeah. So the word Commodore in Spanish and Italian means comfortable, and that's the name of the brand. I'm actually dressed, you know, on site for 7 and in the boardroom.
I don't know if you could show us this.
Yeah. Show me. I need to give you a quick spin, don't I?
Yeah. But you've got bits and pieces, places to put.
Yeah, so you've got all of the benefits of a workwear trouser. You've got the knee pad pockets, the holster pockets for your screws and stuff like that. But the main thing is that it's comfort, you know. So all of our trousers come with an elasticated waist, like you're feeling like you're wearing jogging bottoms, but you get the benefit of a workwear trouser
as well.
Well,
they are nice. They do look very smart. I mean, they look a lot better than some of the workman trousers.
Exactly. You need to make sure that you're looking good. Every time you leave your house, you represent yourself, you know.
Lord Sugar's from your neck of the woods, isn't he?
He's
from the East End, but
he is. Yeah. So he's not too far. So, yeah, there's definitely a little bit of banter there between us.
I was going to ask you, is he slightly different behind closed doors, or is it what you see is what you get?
Nah, 100%. Like his book, what you see is what you get with Lord Sugar. He does.
That's his book, is it?
Yeah, that is his book. Yeah. So, to be honest, he's a very straight-talking man, and I feel like that's why we got on as well. Obviously, when you make it this far in the process, you really get to know someone on a bit of a deeper level. Yeah. And I feel like we had a good relationship. He asked me if I was single last week, which was quite funny, and if I've been on any dates recently. So yeah, there's always a little bit of jokes. I just said no. Do you know, I've been focusing on business, but since since then, hopefully, it won't be too long until my next date. Do you know what I mean?
But what's it like living with all of these people? I mean, it sounds like a nightmare to me.
Yeah, because you have to be in a house with all the other contestants, and that's
we are in the house. We do live there. To be honest, everyone's such strong personalities as well. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's 18 people going for such. Yeah, we're literally fighting it out. I feel like everyone gets to know each other on a deeper level, though. You know, it's very surface level the first couple of episodes, but after a few weeks, and when you're living together with someone, you actually know them on a bit of a deeper level. You know, you're cooking a bit of grub in the morning. You know, you're helping each other out. We've got the house chef. We know who's the lazy ones who cleans up.
But you seem like an easygoing guy, so I'm sure you did all right. But there are some difficult personalities, aren't there? Sometimes we're going to have to leave it there. Liam Snellan, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you so much.
Contestant
there we are, Liam.
Thanks for having me.
Joining us. And to you at home as well, thank you for joining us on Saturday Morning Live today. And Emily, thank you for joining me on the sofa.
Thank you for having me, Adam.
Of course, don't go anywhere. Dawn Easton is up next with The Weekend. Stay tuned for that one. Thank you very much.
Heavy showers first thing will be followed by a warm, cosy day. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good morning. Welcome to your latest GB News weather from the Met Office. After a very dry and sunny much of March, it's a bit of a change over this weekend with some rain and some thundery showers on the way. Low pressure very much in charge of our weather as we head through the rest of the weekend. Weather fronts out towards the north and west of the UK, bringing some quite persistent outbreaks of rain across parts of Northern Ireland and Scotland through the rest of this afternoon. A little bit drier across further south across much of England and Wales, but where we do see that sunshine, we are likely to see some showers bubbling up, particularly across Midlands, parts of central England, and those showers could be quite heavy and perhaps thundery. When we do see that sunshine, though, it will still be feeling pleasant. Temperatures well above average for the time of year, 16